Welcome back to Three's In. Bobo here. Great to see everybody this morning. So, over my life, I have been fortunate to have come in contact with several personalities, if you will, that have more or less been my mentors. Now, they wouldn't have a clue about it, but these are men and women I've admired, that I've met, and really admire. People like Red Skelton. I never have met any of these personally. I'll be very upfront with that. But I've seen their shows, and I can really relate to a lot of these folks. Again, like Red Skelton, Dean Martin, Jackie Gleason, Art Carney. And then in later years, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, of course Robin Williams and Jonathan Winters and Johnny Carson. Before that, there was, of course, I'd have no way of meeting these guys. People like Mark Twain and Will Rogers. The cleverness of their wit is what I think I really admire. One of the early ones that I was exposed to was Groucho Marx. He had a TV show in the 50s up through, I think, 1961 maybe, called You Bet Your Life. And this one evening he was interviewing this contestant just about to come on the program. And he says to the contestant, well, after he got his name and so forth, he says, well, how many children do you have? And the guy says, well, I have 9. And Groucho looks at him, 9? He says, how do you explain that? And the guy says, well, sir, he says, I like my wife. Without skipping a beat, Groucho says, well, he says, I like my cigar, but I take it out every now and then. And I don't know if the censors went after him for that or not, but I tell you what, it's just hilarious. Okay, that's more or less the introduction here to this presentation. By and large, this channel's about flying. But every now and then I have to take it out every now and then and share another story with you. I've got so many of them racing around in my head up here. And that's what this is about. A couple of weeks ago, I was down in San Antonio for that POW dining in. And I had the opportunity to travel on Loop 1604. Now, those of you that have lived in San Antonio, 1604 is a death trap, and has been for years. They were working on it 40 years ago when I lived down there, and they're still working on it. And when they finally think they have it complete, they're going to tear it up so they can have something to work on. At any rate, I went barrel racing a couple times through 1604 the 3 or 4 days I was down there. And it's not fun, let me tell you. It's just not, it doesn't matter day or night, it's not fun. All right, so that kind of gives you the background of the story I'm going to share with you here. It appears as if this guy, he was a businessman, was coming home from work one afternoon on 1604, of course. And he's driving along, minding his own business, listening to K-Buck radio and country western station down there. All of a sudden, the lights just went out. Boom! And lights just go out. And shortly thereafter, he wakes up, kind of clears the fog from his head, and he realizes he's laying on a stretcher. He kind of looks around, what in the world happened? Holy crap! And he starts to look around even more, and he's starting to get more and more upset. And the EMT tells him, hey, listen, sir, he says, just try to calm down. You've been in a pretty bad accident, but we've got things more or less under control. We're getting you stabilized, and everything's going to happen, or everything's going to be okay. So he looks over, and he sees his car all rolled up in a ball, and he says, oh, good God, my beautiful Beamer. He said, I've only had that a month. He said, what in the world happened? And he said, well, sir, he says, this dump truck driver wasn't paying attention. And he said, he drove out in front of you and just cratered you. He says, but don't worry, he's not hurt at all. He said, I could care less about him. Look at my Beamer. Good Lord. And the guy says, sir, he says, you really need to calm down and relax a little bit best you can. And the guy looks down. He sees his suits just ripped to shreds, and he says, oh my God, look at my Armani. He says, I just paid $3,500 for this suit. He says, this beautiful suit. He says, why couldn't that guy pay more attention to what he's doing? He said, we all have to, and yada, yada, yada. And Med tech says, "Sir," he says, "I'm trying to caution you, sell you down." He says, "That's not the worst of it." He said, "How much worse could it get?" And the med tech, "Well, sir," he says, in the crash, he said, "You've lost your left arm." And the guy cautiously looks down and over at his left arm. "Oh, no," he says, "not my Rolex, too." Yeah, sometimes it's just that bad. Good to see everybody. This is Bobo, bass gear. Stop. Not my Rolex, too.